Good morning, my friends here in the Western Pacific. It's currently the 2nd of September 2022. Tropical systems, Haishen, located towards the north of Guam, and of course, we're continuing to talk about Maysak, moving off here towards the north, starting to impact the southern coast of Kyushu, and eventually this is going to roll right into southern areas of the Korean Peninsula. Busan, one of the largest cities outside of Seoul in Korea, going to be taking the brunt of this storm. As a Category 2 storm, actually, as it comes on shore. Taking a look at infrared satellite imagery, you can see this banding in here, but I also want to show you the water vapor, because what this really continues to indicate is that moisture flow coming in from the south. Now, there is a little bit of dry air pushing its way out of eastern China here. Basically, Shanghai is going to be missing completely out on this because of that dry air flow in the western periphery, but that is just going to combat this, and that's to be expected when you start to get up into this latitude. But still, nonetheless, this continues to pack a punch coming out shore. The rain is going to be the main issue. Look at this. Actually, the GFS projecting over the course of the next 48 hours, upwards of a 200 to 300 millimeters out here on Jeju-do, but also moving further towards the north. Parts of the DPRK, 1 to 200 millimeters, is actually indicating close to 300 millimeters. And really, the entire Korean Peninsula just getting pelted with tremendous amount of rainfall. This area is still trying to dry out after Bavi. Thus, to say the least, this storm's going to be very problematic as we go ahead through Wednesday night into Thursday morning across the Korean Peninsula. Places like Sasebo still going to be getting the outer rain bands here and might even get some pretty tremendous amount of rainfall just because of that moisture continuing to wrap around. And I know I have friends out here in Iwakuni possibly watching. Good news, with the flow coming in from the south, Shikoku should block the majority of that precipitation, but still it's going to be some decent rainfall thanks to those outer rain bands. But big issue I think is going to be on the major metropolitan area of Busan there in southeastern areas of the Korean Peninsula. I spent a lot of time there back in my military days. I do know a lot of mountainous terrain in that location. Got a few big rivers that very well could lead to some pretty significant flooding. So that's going to be a big issue as that pushes on by. And then we pull back the picture, the DPRK. Oh, they're going to just get pelted with this and serious flooding. I know they got flooded out from Bavi on limited reports I've seen out of the Hermit Kingdom there. But let's pull back the bigger picture here. Let's look ahead to Thursday, heading into Friday. Of course, all eyes are shifting down here to Haishen. This one is developing towards the north of Guam. You have an area of high pressure located towards the north and east of this. This is the main steering mechanism for Maysak as it moved off here towards the north. But now with this trough setting up, it does look like this should kind of pull it a little bit further towards the north than Okinawa. That's the good news. So kind of Maysak came through and it led a little bit of a path, but it's still, the ECMWF still brings it across the Amami Islands, which means our friends in Okinawa are still going to continue to get those outer rain bands. And if it does drift this far south, which the European is continuing to indicate, this would bring the winds directly from the west onto Okinawa. The bulk of the military population I know lives out here on the west coast, and that very well could cause some low-lying flooding, especially in places like American Village, Cape Zampa. Huge waves to be expected if this situation came over the weekend. I'll show you that though, and note the huge cone of air here, but the Joint Typhoon Warning Center is saying more likely Shikoku, but it comes on shore, look at that, as 120 gusting 145 knot. We're talking about a major storm system here. Definitely the building codes out here along the southeast coast of Shikoku and Kyushu is not as the same strictness as down in Okinawa. So damage from winds is a big issue, but the rain is always a factor when we're talking about this area of Japan. Just watch these rain totals add up as we go ahead through Friday into Saturday as the system comes on shore. Look at that, just hitting the mountains here. And it's typically along the immediate east coast here. You get that moisture flow, and just imagine you have a sponge in your hand, you just kind of squeeze it out. That's what the mountains do across this region. The other big issue is that this is all volcanic right in here. You got a lot of salt. It is very prone to landslides whenever it gets saturated. Whenever we get a storm system this magnitude coming on shore, we always see reports of landslides, and then we even get river damming from those slides. It's just a multitude of factors. Hopefully that type of situation doesn't come about, but I mean, if history tells us anything, heavy rainfall in this area is not welcomed at all. All right, I do want to note though, I mentioned that cone of air earlier, and there is a very large one. It's because the system's still developing and it's in a poor steering flow. So this is the GFS ensemble, but look at the European all over the place. It really I mean, it's taking multitude of factors at the initialization back here, and you have to remember when models make this, the reason why we do show these spaghetti plots is because each one of these starting points is taking a different factor at the starting point, and just like the butterfly effect, the chaos theory, right? If something slightly changes today, 10 years from now, it's going to be a vastly different outcome. Well, that's the same case when models are making outputs here. They initialize a little bit different. We don't have recon here, so we have to kind of make a best guess of those initial conditions. And some of them pull it off here towards the north. They're initializing, for example, a weaker high pressure. Some pull it towards the south, maybe initializing the trough being more vigorous off here towards the west. And that's why we kind of get a little bit of a spread. We always try to line it up in the middle of that spread. Come to that final outcome shown here from the Japan Meteorological Agency. A little bit similar than the Joint Typhoon Warning Center, except a further towards the south across the Amami Islands, heading there into Kagoshima in southern areas of Kyushu. Yeah, Kagoshima definitely would take the brunt of this if this was to take that exact track. So, I mean, if it was me, anybody across the Amami Islands, definitely preparing time. Kagoshima, definitely time to prepare. And further towards the north, the flood threat's going to be the major issue out here. Of course, winds coming onshore, but a major flood threat issue for eastern Kyushu, Shikoku, and even our friends in Iwakuni. That moisture is eventually going to work its way through to the inland sea, cause some issues. But good news, places like Osaka, actually the mountains along the Korean Peninsula here, typically kind of block most of that moisture coming through. So Osaka often fares rather well with storm systems coming through like that. But I mean, Fukuoka, Sasebo, Kagoshima, all these major cities here in Kyushu definitely have to watch this very, very closely as it starts to push on shore as we go ahead throughout the weekend. Anyway, guys, my key thing is just be prepared if you're out here in southern Japan. Okinawa, like I said, this is going to move towards the north, but the big difference between this storm and the last few that might cause different effects is the winds will be coming in from the west, which actually could change things up differently, even though it is farther away. Please let me know if you have any questions, comments, or suggestions. A 7-minute long video today, just a lot of breaking this stuff down, and also these videos get a little bit longer when I'm talking about 2 different storm systems. So stay safe out there, guys. Always, though, thanks for watching. Let me know if you still find these videos useful. Sometimes I'm pretty much only doing them because I know a lot of people find them useful, and I like to geek out about this stuff. And the other thing, and I can get into this differently, maybe in a vlog one day, is that I just don't really feel like there is that many people out here. And in the U.S., there's tropical systems, but everybody and their brother is covering it, and it's just oversaturated, and it doesn't feel like the content you put out is original or useful to many people because it's already there. So, anyways, stay safe, guys. Bye.